Good morning, everyone. My name is Samantha, and I am here to welcome you and thank you for taking the time this morning to join us for the value proposition training this morning. Just a few housekeeping things. If you would take a few minutes to make sure that your name is reading first name and last name as you registered. In order to do that, you can roll your mouse over top of the name. Down under participants, click there and roll your mouse over your name and you'll get a button that says more and a drop down, and then scroll down to rename, and then you can change your name to read first name and last name. That would be really helpful for us so that we can properly address you when you ask questions today. That would be great. Thank you so much to those of you who have already done that. Then we're actually going to get started today in about 8:05 this morning, as we have a few more people joining in, and we want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to join in this morning. As you all are joining us, I'd like you to take a moment and click on the chat box down at the bottom and type in there where it is, or sorry, who you are as a business and what brings you here this morning. Great, thank you, Jamie and Sean. Wonderful. North County Electric in Sandpoint. Wonderful. Thank you. It's great to have you here this morning. Hi, Cheryl. Vacation Rental Authority. That's really awesome. This must be kind of a dull time right now with that lack of vacation rentals happening. No way. Oh, goodness. People traveling, I guess, huh? Okay, so Aaron, who's at the Panhandle Door Inc. Wonderful, welcome. And Skip, thank you. Medical. And Kyle, Talents Bookkeeping, exciting. And we have Neil with Active Physical Therapy. And we have Brian in accounting. And we have Sarah, aluminum casting. Hi, Mike. Cyber self-defense. Oh, that's very exciting, especially right now, right? And Bill told you. Awesome. That's a great reason to be here. Let's see. And for those people that just joined us, if you could take a moment and go down to the participants button at the bottom of your screen and click on that, then roll over your name and click on the more button and take a moment to rename yourself so it reads first name and last name, so that as you're typing into the chat box or asking a question by raising your hand, we can address you properly. Thank you so much. And we have Erica with orthopedic and medical, and Drew, welcome. Founder and CEO of TCI. Wow, AI software, that's impressive. And I'm sorry, how do you pronounce your name? I will unmute you for just a minute. How do you pronounce your name there, please? You should see a prompt.
Okay, I needed to unmute myself. Nygaard, yep. KD.
KD Nygaard, thank you so much for that. We have, and we are getting ready to start here. So I'm going to let Bill, who's running this wonderful training session that you're about to start here, go ahead and take this for you.
Okay, very good. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Building a Highly Profitable Business webinar. I recognize many of your names, so glad to see you all. Anyways, some of you, those of you who don't know me, my name is Bill Jung. I'm one of the coaches at North Idaho College's Small Business Development Center. And this is one in a series of webinars we're doing throughout the summer. We will be offering financial management for profit. And, many times we think business finance is for paying taxes. And I suggest that your business finance is your #1 source of intelligence so you can make great decisions. And if you don't know your numbers, you can't make good decisions. It's hard to lead your business to profit. And so it's crucial. We also have hiring and retaining talent. Your employees are probably your #1 competitive advantage. And you got to be able to hire winners and be able to keep the winners. And we have digital marketing, social media, and all of these, and many others. All of these webinars are about 1 to 1.5 hours and designed to help you through this COVID crisis. And you're welcome to check them out at nispdc.com.
Bill, you need to unmute yourself. There you go.
Am I muted? So I've been talking to myself for the past.
He's been talking to you for about 1 minute.
Oh, I apologize. Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to Building a Highly Profitable Business webinar. If you don't know me, my name is Bill Jung. I'm one of the coaches at North Idaho College's Small Business Development Center. I see a lot of familiar names, and I just want to welcome you all and taking this time. This webinar, Building Highly Profitable Business, it's one in a series of number of other webinars we're doing through the summer. We have one that's coming up called Financial Management for Profit. And, many people think business finance is for paying taxes. And, well, did you know your business finance is your #1 source of intelligence to make great decisions? And if you don't know your numbers, you cannot make good decisions to lead your business to profit. And so, crucial. Another one we're offering is hiring and retaining talent. Your employees are your #1 competitive advantage. And it's crucial that you hire winners and you keep winners. And that's what we're going to cover in that webinar. And we also have digital marketing, social media, and many others to help you through this COVID crisis. And you can check them out at nispdc.com. You see on the screen. Okay, so a couple of housekeeping. As Sam mentioned, you'll be on mute and you'll be communicating primarily through chat. So if you don't know where that is, it's at the bottom of your screen. You will also want to find the hands. I'll also be asking you questions, so you can raise and lower hands. Find that, will be helpful as well. Okay, and so before we get into the content, let me just briefly go over who we are. Who are we? So our mission, our team's mission, that's the reason for being, is to help businesses accelerate and be successful. One of the ways to say this, help you thrive and grow. Because when you're thriving and growing and succeeding, you are obviously benefiting, your employees are benefiting, our communities are benefiting. And when you're growing, you create jobs, and people with jobs don't have to move to Seattle or LA to Chicago, or even have to drive to Spokane. You can actually live and work in North Idaho, and that's what we want. We want to help create strong businesses that are economic engines that blesses our community, so that our community, our region, and our country benefits. So there's 10 of us in our team, and we say we have 250 years of mistakes we want to help you avoid. And all of our business coaches are retired executives. We've all done small and big businesses. So We want you to know, we know your pain. We know the joys. We know the challenges of being a small business owner. And so what we are offering is not theoretical, right? Academic. It is very practical. And this is what we believe. Okay, so, all right. So if you're a farmer, and you do all the hard work that a farmer does, you prepare the soil, you plant the seed, you fertilize, you water, and you do all the hard work throughout the season. What is it that you expect at the end of the season? Chances are you don't mind putting in that hard work because you're looking for a harvest, right? If you're a business owner and you invest time, money, sweat, tears, and you forego all those other things you could be doing, what do you expect at the end of the year? Well, you probably expect profit because we want to return on our hard work. But as many of you know, that's not a given, right? It's not a given that you get profit just because you work hard. And matter of fact, did you know that 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, right? That's a lot. And as many of you know, it takes no skill or smarts to start a business. But it's something else to try to build a profitable business. That's a whole different game, isn't it? So then the question is there a way to build a highly profitable business? And the answer is yes, right? That's why we're putting this webinar on. Do people know the answer? And I suggest to you, based on the statistics, no, it's uncommon, right? Is it a secret? No, it's not a secret, but again, it is uncommon. And that's what I'm going to try to unpack for you today. I'm going to share with you the secret sauce of building highly profitable business. Okay, I realize most of you are business owners, but you're also consumers. Okay, so let me ask you a question as consumers. Have you ever had a really, really, really mediocre experience? Right? They forgot your order. Maybe they messed up the order. Right? They treated you like a number. Or customer service was marginal, sloppy, right? Food was tasteless. It was late. You hired somebody and they gave you such a good sales job, right? And after you signed the dotted line, right, they were late, right? They made excuses. They didn't get it all done. And what they did wasn't what they promised, right? And when you ask for service, they treated you like they're doing you a big favor or something like that. Maybe you have many other kind of experience. So have you ever had mediocre experience? Well, chances are, because you guys can't talk, chances are, okay, you're welcome to give me hands. Give me the hands if you're able. Chances are many of you had, and probably a lot of those kind of experiences. Okay, let's go to the other end. Have you ever had an extraordinary experience as a consumer? Can you remember an experience that was extraordinary, let's say in the last 6 months, last 9 months, maybe? And thank you, Sean, for raising that hand. Can you remember one? Now, I've asked this question to thousands of people, and here's what I've discovered. When you go to like 9 months to a year, people can remember one. Right? Not everybody, so, a lot of people. But there are a lot of people who can't even remember one extraordinary experience in the last 12 months, right? So we have a lot of the mediocre ones and very few of the extraordinary ones. But if you are a customer of Costco or Amazon or Southwest Air, chances are you probably had some great service, selection, convenience, right? Things were easy, right? You probably had some. So when you compare the many, right, the mediocre ones, to the few that was extraordinary, and when we compare and when you contrast the two, it may be that, our thoughts are that, the many were kind of difficult to use. It was labor intensive. It was a grind to use. And then the few were easy and quick, Service in general was kind of mediocre. People just didn't care. They weren't really trained well, right? And they all acted like, you know, it was a big bother giving you service. And then you had few where the employees really took good care of you. So when we think back and contrast the two types, you know, one was good, one was bad, good service, bad service, or something like that. Okay, but here's what I suggest. I suggest, actually, the difference runs much deeper. Matter of fact, difference runs to the foundation of their business, to the value proposition. So if a business has no value proposition as its foundation, what they deliver will be mediocre, forgettable, so-so, average. And they'll have 1,000 different weaknesses, and they'll bleed from these 1,000 weaknesses, and eventually they will fade away. On the other hand, if a business has a solid value proposition as its foundation, right, everything is different. Because what they deliver will be exceptional, memorable, and then as a business, what you have is margin, profit, cash flow, sustainability, and momentum. So here's my premise. Here's what I suggest. To build a highly profitable business, you need a great value proposition as your foundation, right? To build a highly profitable business, you need a solid value proposition as your foundation. So if that's the case, how do you build a great value proposition? So let's say in a war, okay, and I know that's a stretch for us because we're at peace. Let's say in a war, what would it take to win a battle, right? Well, some people may say you need soldiers and you need guns and ammunition and tanks or something like that, right? But here's the thing, right? It's likely that your opposition probably has soldiers, guns, ammunition, and tanks. So then how do you win? You just duke it out and it's a crapshoot, right? Whatever happens, happens. And that may be how, you know, many battles are fought. But if you really wanted to win, I suggest you need intelligence. What kind? You need intelligence on your objective, on your opposition. You need intelligence on the terrain, the weather, even on your team's capability, so that you can map out a plan to win. So in the same way, right, in the same way, to build a great value proposition, you need intelligence. And again, what kind? Well, the kind you probably don't have, because if you did, you'll be building a highly profitable business. So this is what we're going to unpack this morning. What's the intelligence do we need, right? So that you can build a great value proposition, and therefore through that, you can build a highly profitable business. This is what we're going to unpack today, okay? So I shared with you earlier that some 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. And you know, if you think about Idaho, we have, I think, about 150,000 businesses in the state. There are some 30 million plus businesses in the United States. And when you think about, you know, the startups, right? If 80% of business fail in the first 5 years and many more in the second 5, that's a lot of businesses that fail, right? And so we have to ask, why? How come, right? So many fail. And is there something we can learn from, you know, what they do, right? So that so that we don't do that. We do something else. And I suggest there are some really important similarities, commonalities. And it has to do with how they begin. I suggest most people start their business with what they want to do. For example, I like to cook, so I open a restaurant. I like to build websites, so I start a business doing websites. I like to sell, so I open a business selling online, brick and mortar. I like to work in healthcare, open a business. I like to be in insurance, so sell insurance. Or the other way most people start is, I know how to do something, right? I know how to do plumbing, open a business as a plumber. I know how to do IT or networking, open a business. I know how to do construction, right? Open a business. I know how to, I know how to work with wood. And so you open a business building wood furniture. I am a CPA, so I know I've got a CPA business or many things like that. So now, is there anything wrong with that? Right? I mean, that's kind of very common, right? Is there anything wrong with it? Well, I suggest to you, there's a weakness to this approach. And matter of fact, I suggest to you, there's a terrible weakness to this approach, okay? It's like building a Mercedes dealership in Bonners Ferry, right? Nothing against people of Bonners Ferry. I love many of them. They're lovely people, right? But it's rural and it's small, right? So it's like building a Mercedes dealership in Bonners Ferry, okay? The question is, how do you know if anyone will buy and if there's enough of them, right? That seems very obvious. Or it's another example, maybe building a Whole Foods grocery store at St. Mary's. Nothing against St. Mary's, but it's small and rural, right? How do you know if anyone will buy and if there's enough? Okay, this example seemed pretty obvious, right? It is so obvious. But I suggest to you, when you begin with, I want to do something, I know how to do something, it's very similar, right? And I would say, here's a journey of people starting that way. I want to do something, I know how to do something. Well, they look around for space, right? Sign a lease, get some signage, right? Get some equipment, hire some people, print up some cards, they open a business, and then hope people will show. And some people come, but probably not enough. But you got bills to pay, you got loans to pay, you got payroll, and then soon you begin to get desperate, right? And when you get desperate, you begin to look for any warm body to sell to, right? And because of how you began, right? I want to do something, I know how to do something, there's really nothing special about your business because you're doing what a lot of other people are doing. So you look like everybody else and you're doing what a lot of other people are doing, a lot of other businesses doing. And so there are a lot of substitutes. So then you end up competing on price. And then you eke out a living until eventually you fade away. Matter of time. This is the common journey of the 80% or many more, right? So this whole approach of if you build it, people will come, doesn't work. And many of you know this already, right? So if that doesn't work, is there a better way? Absolutely. I suggest if you build the right foundation, right? If you build the right foundation, it will take you on a trajectory that's uncommon, on a trajectory of profit. But you gotta begin with the right question. And this is the first and most important question. This is the foundational question. And I suggest that question is, what's the need that people have that's worth meeting? What's the problem that people have that's worth solving? What's the need that people have that's worth solving? What's the problem that people have that's worth solving, right? Now, I'm not asking this question generally, because if you ask it generally, right, then you're going to come up with an answer that anybody else can come up with. Then you're going to solve it like anybody else. Then you're going to build it like anybody else. Then you're going to have a business like anybody else. You're going to be average. You have low margin, low profit, low cash flow. You're going to eke out a living until eventually you fade away. And that may take years, right? Okay. So why is this the first and most important question in building a highly profitable business? Because without knowing the need clearly and well, right, you cannot build a compelling solution. You cannot deliver a solid, great value. You cannot deliver a win. You cannot deliver something memorable, right? Because then if you don't do that, then, right, you'll deliver what's predictable, pedestrian, average, and we already know the future of that, right? So with that in mind, let's take an example, right? Okay, Federal Express. I know they've been around a while. We take them for granted. They've been around 40 some years, right? Okay, but 40 years ago, all right, 40 years ago, the only players, right, if you wanted to mail something, only player was US Postal Service. And if you mail something, it took about 5 days to mail something, you know, to your friends or family. And if you sent a package, it took about a month, 4 weeks. If you wanted to send a package even sooner, you could pay more and use UPS. Those are the games, right? But let's say you are a newlywed, okay? And you really like your in-laws. You want to really have a good relationship with them. It's important to you. But here's the thing. You forgot your mother-in-law's birthday is tomorrow. Okay, and she lives out of town, okay? What would it be worth to you to be able to get a birthday card to her by tomorrow? What would it be worth to you to be able to get a present to her by tomorrow? Okay, so some of you, you say, not a big deal. Others of you, maybe it is a deal, right? Well, let's take another example. Let's say you're working on a multi-million-dollar contract and the deadline is in 3 days. Here's the thing. You are nowhere close to having it ready. You got a lot of loose ends, right? A lot of problems to solve, people to bring aboard. You're not in agreement. It's messy, okay? What would it be worth to you to gain another 24 hours to work on the loose ends, tie up the loose ends? What would be worth to you to be able to gain 48 hours to tie up the loose ends, okay? In years ago, Federal Express used to run commercials, and they were clever, really, and they had a saying. And maybe some of you remember this if you're older like me. And the motto they had was, when you absolutely, positively have to get it there overnight. When you absolutely, positively have to get it there overnight, right? So what need does Federal Express meet? Time, right? What Federal Express allows you to do is to buy 24 hours for $27. Federal Express allows you to buy 48 hours for $27, right? And some of you say, hey, you know, that's not a big deal. Others of you, you know this is a no-brainer. Buy 24 hours for $27. Wow, that's amazing, right? Okay, so in the same way, what is the need that people have that you want to meet? What is the problem that people have that you're going to solve? Why does it exist? How urgent is it? Somebody had a heart attack. How urgent? That's pretty urgent. Somebody had a diabetic situation. That's pretty urgent. Or let's say you went at a restaurant with your family and your baby just filled the diaper. How urgent is it? Pretty urgent, right? Okay, when does the need occur? Where does it occur? How often does it occur? This is why you don't buy diapers in singles, right? You buy it in huge packs, okay? Or now, how is the need being met now? How is the problem being solved now? One of the businesses that I've been coaching, it's a manufacturing business. They are about 70 years old plus, and they're in a very, very competitive industry. Very mature, very competitive. Their customers are multi-billion-dollar corporations, right? And because they are so competitive and so mature, when they came to us for help, they were running about 2% net. And that wasn't unusual for businesses in that industry, 2% net, right? They were profitable, but just barely. Well, this was the second generation. And you know, they wanted to retire. They wanted the third generation to take over, and they need to perform better so they can make the transition. And so anyways, they've worked hard, and they've done an amazing job. And now there's a third generation that's running the business. And last year, their net was 20%. They went from 2% to 20%, tenfold increase. And that is unheard of in that industry, right? Even the owners, this is now the third generation, when they look at it, they go, they are just stunned how well they have done, and they've done very well. Now the third generation owners are younger, and they're ambitious. They want to take this business to another level, right? So we're looking at what's the next problem that they can solve to take it to another level. And in this industry, the delivery is 8 to 12 weeks because there are so many pieces and processes to work through, 8 to 12 weeks. And again, we talked about their customers are these really huge corporations. It costs them millions to operate every day. And if there's any delay, hiccup, it costs them millions, right? So what they've determined is if they can reduce the delivery from 8 to 12 weeks to 4 to 6 weeks, they can name their price. They can take market share, right? So that is one of the focuses they're working on, is as the next problem that launched them to the next level of growth. Okay, so we're gonna do an exercise, okay? And I would like for you, each of you, to take it, because I want you to apply this, what we're talking about, to your business. And if you would, take it seriously. So answer this question. As a business, what's the need you're trying to meet? Or as a business, what's the problem you're trying to solve? And okay, this is the hard part, okay? I want you to answer it in 2 bullets. Not a paragraph, not two short bullets, okay? And then when you're done, if you're willing, you're welcome to share via chat so that we can have a bit of a dialogue, okay? So go ahead, you got 2 minutes. I realize this isn't easy, but give it a go, right? And try to write it out. Actually, don't just think it, try to write it out.
Okay, we have our first share, Bill. Erica says, people need to be active to be happy and make a living, and physical pain stops the, I can't read that very well, hold on just a second.
Okay.
And physical pain stops this ability.
Okay. Thank you. Sam, I can actually see it. I opened the chat box. I can see it now.
Perfect. And we have 2 others that just came in. And a third one.
Okay. Okay. I see demystify cybersecurity, empower companies, use cybersecurity instead of crippling. Okay. Remove work involved in learning, property, investment income to relieve stress of accident. Okay. We respond when called. Okay. Organized business financials. We show up when scheduled. Okay. 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 Preserve memory through repair of quality furniture. Give people compassion and care, personalized care. Okay. Creating a dream of bucket list. Okay. Secure, reliable supply chain. Okay. All right. So very good. And keep them coming. Okay. 1 week turnaround with perfect quality. Okay. Okay. All right. Peace in mind. Okay. So let me just give you. We don't have time. We just, I'm trying to do this in just about an hour. Okay. I don't have time to respond to all of these. But here's, I would say, here's what I'm seeing as the need or the problem you're trying to solve. I suggest much of what I'm seeing really is what you want to deliver, not the need. That's what you want to do, not a need that exists, a problem that exists. I hope that makes sense. So because you see the world through your business, right? That's how you're even seeing this question. And I'm suggesting, right? You're doing what many people are doing, really is seeing the world through what you want to do. Okay. And so here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay. It may be you're comfortable with, or you're not comfortable with the answer you came up with. And you know this already. You need to get better because your future depends on it. It may be some of you are comfortable with what you came up with, but here's the thing, right? You need to get better. Because if you come up with this need or the problem that anybody else can describe, then you got to come up with an answer that looks like everybody else's. Anybody else can, right? And then what you deliver, what you build will look like what others do. And then what you end up competing with is pretty much price, right? And then you're going to eke out a living. I hope that makes sense. Okay, because clearer you understand the need, right? Clearer and more powerful your solution, then the win you deliver is, right, is meaningful. Then you have greater margin, greater profit, greater sustainability. And this is such an important question, right? So let's kind of come back to the two fundamental difference approaches to starting a business. One is I want to do something, or I know how to do something, right? So you open a restaurant, you start a business doing IT or whatever, right? Or the other way is you find the need that people have that's meaningful, a problem that people have that is meaningful, and you solve it. And I suggest to you, it leads to two very different trajectory of building a business. One is desperation, and you do a lot of desperate things, right? You do a lot of things what everybody else is doing, right? The other one, right? What you deliver is meaningful, powerful, and then you build a business that is exceptional, unusual, profitable, okay? So if that first question, by the way, anybody, you're welcome to use the chat. What's the first question? What's the first question? Anybody? What's the first question? Okay. What's the need? Yes, thank you, Susan. All right, what's the need? What's the problem, right? You want to meet, you want to solve, right? That's worthy. Thank you, Sean. Okay, if that's the first question, what's the second question? Well, who has this need, right? Who has this need? How many of you, give me the show of hands, right? Show of hands. How many of you say everyone? Okay. I'm not, okay. Hands in the participant window. All right, I can't see it. Okay, anyways.
Quick reminder, everyone go to your participants button at the bottom, and down at the bottom of the participants window on the left should be a raise hands button, or on the right, depending on your screen.
Okay, so, all right. So again, how many of you say everyone? Okay, is that good or bad? Right? Is that good or bad? So let me ask you, how much do you have? How many can you reach with $10,000 or $100,000 or even $1 million? How many can you reach? Did you know that no one business can reach everyone? Not GM, not GE, not even Walmart, not even Amazon. And when you're trying to reach everyone, right, let's just think about it. Let's say you're a retailer, okay, just for simplicity's sake, you're trying to reach everyone. What kind of inventory will you need? You will need inventory for everyone, right? How much is that going to cost? And how many people actually come? Probably not everyone, right? And therefore, what's the margin, right? I don't know if you have heard of White Elephant. White Elephant, there's a business in Spokane called White Elephant. They have 2 locations. And anyways, it's a big store. And in 20-some years, I've been there 3 times. Twice, I didn't buy anything. 3rd time, I felt guilty and bought some knick-knack toys for my grandkids. Every time I'm there, I have a distinct sense it's for somebody else. They have so many things, right? And last time I was there, I mean, they have a lot of staff. What I noticed that most of the staff were standing by the gun racks. So he told me that, you know, the way they make money is actually from the guns. But, you know, they had thousands and thousands of other things. Well, they just closed their doors because that model is unsustainable, right? It's unsustainable. When you're trying to reach everyone, you reach no one. Because when you have limited, okay, and here's some principles, a couple of principles, because truth, right? Not everyone has that need. The need you're trying to meet, okay? Really, not everyone has that need. And not everyone has the same level of need, really. So if you spend $10,000 trying to reach everyone, much of it is going to be spent on people who really don't have that need. And then small portion will be trying to reach people who have the need. And much of it will be spent on those who have the need, but just not very much, which means just a small, tiny fraction will be reaching people who have that need at a high enough level, right? That would be worth your reaching them, right? Does that make sense? So if you have limited resources, using a shotgun is unsustainable. You have to use a rifle, right? So when you use a rifle, right, who are you looking for? I suggest those who have the need more often and in greater measure than anyone else, right? And they're willing to pay for the value because they have to have money, right? Because you are in a business, right? So you're trying to reach who have the need more often in greater measure than anyone, because the cost of the problem for them is greater than for others. Those who have the need in more often greater measure, the cost of the problem is greater than for others, and the solution, if you can solve that, the solution you give gives them a great win. And if they have money, they're willing to give you a win back, right? And these are called your best customer, right? You're not looking for everybody. You are looking for your best customer. Who are your best customer? Those who have the need more often in greater measure than anyone else and have the money to pay, right? Okay, chances are if you've been in business, you know maybe some of these best customer. You may know 1, you may know 2, maybe half a dozen. If you don't know, pretty simple, right? Who uses? Who buys? Who buys more often and gladly paying full, right? You're trying to identify your best customers out of the set of the customers that you have. Again, if you've been in business, you may know some. And if you know some, what is it that you want to know? Well, everything about them that you can, like why do they have the need? Why more than others? Why do they like your solution? Assuming they like your solution, right? So you're trying to find the one or the few or the 10 or dozen or 20 of the best customers that you've identified. You want to learn something about them, right? And the purpose of learning something about them is so that you can find attributes that they share. And why do you want to know the attributes that they share? Because using these attributes, you can find more like them from the population, right? Would that be in Kootenai? Would that be in North Idaho? Would that be in Inland North? Okay. What attribute do these best customers share? And one of the ways you can find those attributes may be demographics. And demographics has to do with who are they? Like, for example, is it age? Is it people, commonality about your best customer? Are they young people, 20 to 30? Or is it sex? Are they women, 40 to 60? Is it their income level? Is it their education, occupation? Is it their lifestyle? Or is it because they're married and have kids? So what you're trying to find out is what attribute do they share so that I can use that to find others. So this is one set of attributes. Another one would be psychographics. And that has to do with their behavior. Why? First one has to do with who, demographic, and psychographic has to do with why. For example, what are their motivation? Are they into security, right? Are they into health, worldviews, right? Values. Are they very family oriented or green? Preferences, interests. Are they into fitness? So what are the attributes they share, okay, that I can discern, right? So that I can use that to find more like them, right? Okay. All right, we're going to do our second exercise. Okay, the first exercise was, what's the need, what's the problem? Second exercise is, I want you to answer, who is your best customer? Okay, I want you to hear me out here. I'm not asking you to describe ideal people, idealized people, people who love to eat pizza. I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you, okay, who's your best customer that are real? Not idealized, not hypothetical, but real people. For example, it's Tom and Jennifer Andrews. They're married, they're in the early 40s, they have 2 kids. He's a salesman, she works at the school district, and they are into fitness, they're into Spartan fitness, or something like that, right? The why is they're into fitness. Who is your best customer? And just use their first name, obviously. And if you can identify 1, 2, 3 of them, great. And you're welcome to share, all right? So give you a couple of minutes. I'm talking about real people again, not hypothetical or idealized, real people. Okay, give it a go. Cheryl, that's a great answer. Thank you. So from Cheryl's side, that's the property owner. So Cheryl has 2 sets of customers. One is the property owner, the other one is obviously vacationers. Okay, so she just described a property owner. Okay, great. Anybody else? Okay, great. Thank you, Mike. Yes. Okay. Okay, very good. Right. So, okay, very good. Very good. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Brian. Okay, that's good, Joanne. Okay, thank you. Skip. Okay, Cheryl has another one. Great, great. Okay, so what I hear, okay, what I see is you're really hitting it. You know your best customer. Wonderful. And those of you who don't, you're gonna have to work at this, because if you, unless you have, I mean, you're really, really rich, right? You have easily 6, 7 zeros in your bank account. Okay, if you have scarce resources, you have to use a rifle, which means you got to know. And so I really like these answers. The question is, right, what are the attributes they share so you can find others like them, right? That's the next step. So the first question is, what's the need? What's the problem? Second question is who, right? And based on that, you're trying to identify who are the best customers and what attributes do they share so I can find others like them. Very good. Thank you, Tracy and Jody. All right. So if those are the first two questions, what's the third question? Third question is, how much is it worth? Really? How much is it worth? Right? How much will they pay? Because that's what it's worth. On the way, say this, obviously pricing. What we see typically when it comes to pricing, right? The way that business answers this question, it isn't really how much is it worth. Typically, the way business owners answer this question is two ways. One is, how much did it cost me, right? The material cost me this much, labor cost me this much, so I add some addition to it, and that's my price, right? But here's the thing, I've coached probably 1,200, 1,400 businesses. And here's one thing that I know. 99.9% of business owners, they don't know their cost. Now, I don't mean they don't know how much they paid for a particular part or product. I mean, how much does their product cost? How much does their service cost? They really don't know the cost. So if your price is based on cost and you don't know your cost, your business has a problem, right? And so I have lots of business owners that come, they say, I got revenue, but I got no profit, very little cash. And this is probably one of the problems, because when you're guessing, you're probably guessing on the low end, not on the high end, right? And I had a furniture manufacturer with some scale that came for help. And when the business owners come, one of the requirements of coaching is you got to bring your financials, because financials tell us something that you may not realize, right? And so one of the questions I asked him was, what's your margin? And he said 72%. And he said it so quickly, right? And so precisely, I was impressed, right? And then, so I looked at the financials, and then the financials told me 22%. And he said, no, that's not right, that's wrong. So I said, okay, do you trust the people who put this together? And he said, are they competent? And he said, yeah, but there's something wrong, that's not right. So I said to him, because I had some experience at this, I said, let me ask you a question. Do you ever give deals? And he said, no, we don't give deals. Okay. And I said, just to be on the safe side, okay, just to be sure. Have you given any deals in the last month? Can you think of anyone you might have given a deal to in the last month? And he was going to say no, but then he paused and thought. And then eventually he said, yeah, I gave a deal to a school district. I said, okay. Anybody else? Thought for a while, and he said, yeah, there was an architect. Anybody else? He thought for a while. He said, yeah, there was this high-end contractor. Anybody else? Oh, there's a friend of a friend. Okay. Right, before, and he had a slew of actually lists. Of course, he's not keeping track, right? Right? And he's assuming. And so really, in his mind, he's thinking he has a business that produces 72% margin, but actually reality is 22%. And if you don't know your cost, because obviously he has not looked at the financials, and that is so common, right? So if you don't know your cost, how will your pricing be right? Okay, so that's one way. Another way people price, right, is based on competition, right? They look at their competition, the high end, and then the low end, and then they say, typically, they try to go in the middle somewhere, okay? But here's what experience tells me. They don't usually go in the middle. They usually go on the lower end because they want to try to gain market share, right? And here's the thing. When you're on the lower end, life is hard. It's hard to actually invest in your business when you're on the low end, right? It's hard to hire good people and keep them and pay them well. It's hard to have enough left over to invest in your business, systems, equipment, processes. And then you end up taking all kinds of customers you probably shouldn't because they don't have their act together. And so you are constantly having to solve their problems, and your employees are not quite equipped, and there's lots of evenings and weekends. You're frustrated with your employees, they're frustrated, you're frustrated, you're working evenings and weekends, and everybody loses. Nobody wins, right? And when you're starting at the cellar, it's hard to get off the cellar. So here are some principles. To drive profit, you gotta know the cost. Price wars have no winners, and price-sensitive customers are not loyal. So if you start at the low end, assuming they're, rise up with you as you increase price, there are some surprises in store for you. Price-sensitive customers are not loyal. Okay, so is there a better way, right? Yes, right? Rather than just product cost plus or competition, what's the cost of the problem that best customers have? What is that? What's the cost? How big a pain is it, really? Okay, how big a pain is it? And what are the cost of substitutes? And how well do they work? Do they solve 30% of the problem, 50% of the problem, 80% of the problem, or 100%? If you have competitors that are solving 100% problem, then you got a different challenge, right? Right? What are the costs of the substitutes? How effective is it? And then how effective is yours? If your substitutes are solving 30 to 50%, does yours solve 80, 90%? Because if you do, right, then you have every opportunity for profit. So it's not then, at that point, it's not about how much it costs you or what the competitor's charging, but how much it is worth to your best customer, right? This is how you generate margin and profit, right? Okay, so what's the need? What's the problem? Second question, who has it? Third question, how much is it worth? And then fourth question then is, what's your market potential, right? What's your market potential? How many best customers are in your target market? Is there enough best customers to make a profit? Is there 10, 100, 1,000, right? 10,000, how many are there, right? And how much and how often do they buy? Here's the thing. For most businesses, let's say you have a business and you have customers that buy $25 at a time, some buy $50 at a time, some buy $75 at a time, some buy $100 at a time, some buy $200, some buy $500, okay? So when you see your customer, you see them as a $25, $50, $75, $100, $200, $500 customer, right? And what you like the $200 and $500 customers. You want more of them. But here's the thing, the $500 customer comes every few months. So their need isn't that often. The $200 customer comes maybe once a month, right? And then that $100 customer actually comes every week. So that $100 customer is actually not a $100 customer. That $100 customer is actually $5,000 customer because they come every week, right? And if they can come every week and they really like your solution, right? And you can keep them for a long time. Let's say, I realize this is a stretch, right? Let's say you can keep them happy for 10 years, okay? Then that's not a $100 customer, not $5,000 customer. That customer is a $50,000 customer, right? How many $50,000 customer do you need to be successful, right? But here's the thing, you're busy. You're so busy, right? The way you see the world is $25 customer, $75 customer, $100 customer, $200 customer, right? You don't see the 50,000. But if you saw it, right? If you had a $50,000 customer, would you invest in that relationship? Would you invest to get them and to keep them? But if you're so busy, right, you don't see the difference, then you're gonna try to invest on the $500 customer who comes every few months, right? Their need isn't that great, right? And therefore, how big is your market potential? How big is your market potential, right? Okay, so what's the first question? What's the need? What's the problem? Second question, who has this need? Your best customer, because they have it in a greater measure than anyone else. Third question, how much is it worth? Your solution, how much is it worth? Fourth question, what's your market potential? Fifth question, what's your channel? What's your channel to reach your best customer? What is your channel now, right? Whether it's by intent or by default, what's your channel? And is it working? Really? I always like to add, really, because, right, the first thought is, yeah, it's working, you know. No, I mean, really, as a business owner, business leader, is it really working, okay? And if you are trying to reach, you know, people and you find that retail is your means, then it's purely location, right? That's your best channel, is location. But with a COVID, right, the world is turned, you know, really, it's a different world. And some of the changes that's come on us, it's probably not going to go away, right? And if all your competitors are doing retail, okay, is there opportunity? Is that the best way? Or some of you are, you know, trying to reach businesses or retail or event producers or associations. You may use wholesale, and that's the means. But question is that the best channel? I'm going to talk about direct. You know, maybe your channel is direct. Did you know your healthcare providers, right? Some of them are going direct. Some of your doctors, dentists, right, nurse practitioners are going direct. Did you know that? Because the standard model is lots of space, lots of expensive equipment, lots of staff. So you have a lot of overhead, which means you need a lot of sales to break even, just to break even. That's the standard model, right? So they said, okay, it's just me or maybe one employee. And then we're gonna go direct to the patients, right? So very little overhead, so you can get to the break even really fast, so you can get to profit really fast. Okay, so another way is membership. You're familiar with CrossFit and such, but there are actually doctors who are using membership. They don't take insurance, it's all cash, but you pay a set fee every month, $35 a month, let's say, and then you can see the doctor as often as you want. And there's a movement on both across the country, and I've coached a few on both of those, and they're doing very well because the channel, right? They're innovating the channel. Their value proposition is in the channel. and they're able to reach their best customers, right? So in the same way, is there opportunity for you, right? And if you're trying to reach people in a broader market, then it's got to be internet, right? That's a major part. And then it's about really performance of your online resources, the website, social media, and so on. And especially with the COVID, this is massive. And as you know, the whole shift to the digital strategy is just accelerated. And those who have made the shift quickly and effectively are doing well. Those who have been slow to move are struggling. And I suggest this is essential, right? You got to do this. And if you need help, by the way, we have 3 coaches we have 2 coaches in digital strategy, 1 coach in e-commerce, right? So we have 3 coaches who have expertise in this area to help you. And all you got to do is reach out and say, we need help, okay? So and then we have lots of other webinars coming up in this arena. All right, so first question is, what's the need? Second, who? Third is, how much is it worth? Fourth is, what's the market potential? Is it worth doing? By the way, on that question, if what you have isn't worth doing, you probably have to shift, pivot, to find and solve a more meaningful problem, right? So that you can build a business that has a great potential, right? Instead of just doing the same. Fourth question, what's the channel? Sixth one is competition, right? Right, there are many ways to compete. Selection, quality, service, speed. And then we got the whole different arena here. Access, channel, delivery, security, safety. And especially with COVID, this second set of bullet is huge, right? And I realize in Idaho, we operate we have a little different approach. And we thought we were kind of immune from this COVID, and obviously it's catching up. And there are businesses that still are not making this the shift to protect their employees and their customers. But I suggest those who have really moved quickly to protect their customers and their employees, right? And they're communicating it well, they're doing much better than those who are winging it. So this shift about safety, access, delivery, I think some of it's gonna be lasting. It's gonna stay with us. And so I suggest you really think through this. By the way, all of it has to do with customer experience, right? So one of the business I've been coaching, it's a very, very successful business. And they've been around for a while, but they wanted to get to another level. And so they came to us because they're doing well, but they want to do better. So one of the questions I ask is, are you any good? I ask much more nuanced than that. But ultimately, that's the question. Are you any good? And they said they were really good, right? So I asked them, so prove it to me. And they said, how would we prove it? Well, show me your repeat business. And they didn't know, right? And so they came back and they said, and showed me that it was high 90s. Their customers are coming back over and over, high 90s. I said, wow, that's pretty good. And then I said, so what do people say about you? And they go, well, you know, we have these anecdotal stories. I said, no, I'm in Google or something like that. How about Google review? So we opened up the Google review and they had some 27 reviews. And they had a rating of like 4.7. Their next competitor had about 23. They had 20, 18, 17, 15, 12, and on. And so their next closest one were like 4.2 or 3.9 or something like that. So they were, you know, they were kind of on the lead. So I said, that's not bad. But I suggested to them that it wasn't convincing. There was no separation, right? And I asked, if you're really good, is there a reason why you couldn't have 100 at 5? And you know, their eyes got wide and they said, how would you do that? So we talked about how to do that. But they are good leaders. And so they came back a month later, showed me the Google review. They were almost 80, 4.8, almost 80, right? I said, that's pretty good. Good job. Well, 18 months later, they have 176 at 5.0. Their nearest competitor, 30 at 3.7, 3.8, right? Now there is clear separation. So it's not they who are saying they're good, but all of their customers saying, yeah, quality, absolutely. Service, amazing. Integrity, they say what they do what they say, right? And it's their customer they're raving, and they're getting phone calls all the time, right? And they ask them, how did you find out about us? And they said, well, you know, Google review, hands down. You guys are the top. And so anyways, right? Competition. So another thing about competition, by the way, you know, when you're assessing competition, I suggest, you know, we judge others by how they behave, and then we judge ourselves by our intentions. So when others fail, we say, oh, see, you know, I knew they weren't very good. When we fail, we go, you know, I meant to do better, right? So when we judge others, we're exacting. When we judge ourselves, we're pretty sloppy, right? All to say, when you have competitors that's been around for a while, I would say give them their due and see if there are things you can learn from. Like, who are they after? How are they reaching it? What's their solution? And based on that, what's their problem identification and what do they think are important? Because, right, you want to learn as much as you can so that you can meet your best customer's need better than anybody else, right? Okay, so we talked about 6 different intelligence gathering, right? What's the need? Who has it? What is it worth? What's your market potential? What's a channel? What's your competition? And we are asking this to gain intelligence, right? So how do we get them? Pretty much Google, right? This is called secondary research. Look them up. If your business industry is mature, there's lots of articles. That's data. Look them up. Association. Anyways, all of those things. But here's the thing. When you find information, right, on Google, it's probably based on other regions, urban cities, and things like that. So it's hypothesis. And then you want to see how well it applies to North Idaho, right? So you want to validate those hypotheses by talking to, not to everyone. This is the mistake. You're not talking to everyone. You're talking to your potential best customers because what they say is what you want to respond to, right? Okay, so with that in mind, okay, based on your research and analysis, refine your target market. If you've been going after everybody, you know that's not going to work. So who are your best customers? Maybe you've been going after people who can't pay. Who are your best customers? So refine your target market. And based on that, refine your value proposition so that you can meet your best customers' need better than anybody else. So how do you refine your value proposition? Well, what's your problem identification? How clear is it? Everything hinges on this. How clear is your problem identification? How compelling is your solution against that problem, right? How well does your solution meet that problem, solve that problem, right? And then therefore, what is the value of that in dollars? Okay. So we're going to do an exercise, but for time's sake, we're going to skip this. I'll let you do this on your own, okay? So remember, customers don't buy products and services. What they buy, right, what they pay for is solutions to their problems. They buy satisfaction to their wants. So Tesla, right, people buy Tesla not because they care about the environment so much. Maybe they do, but the research says people buy Tesla to improve their friends, to impress their friends, right? Okay, Starbucks, well, no, but when they first started, you know, their value proposition was third place, to be the third place, right? First place is your home, second place is your business, third place is where you hang out with your friends, experience friendship, fellowship, community. And they've done such a good job. Now they have branded products all over the world, right? Okay, so again, if your value proposition is general, what you deliver is low value, right? Unimpressive, not memorable, you have low margin, you fade away. If your value proposition is clear, then what you deliver is powerful, extraordinary, and what you have is margin and profit, and you have every opportunity to build a highly profitable business. So let me just kind of go do a couple of examples, right? So you know, we're at home, and my wife has a long list of things for me to do, and I'm really doing a lot of projects at home, and I'm looking for tools. So let's say you're looking for a tool, but it's not a common tool, right? It's not a single tool. It's a tool to do some things that isn't easily found. So how do I find this thing? Well, I do some internet research. I go to the hardware stores, right? I talk, I look, right? I do search, right? And I may spend hours and days and maybe even weeks doing this. Eventually, I narrow the search into one or two, right? And maybe I place an order online. It takes 2 weeks to get, or drive to the hardware store, get it. And then I try it out, and it doesn't quite work out, right? Now I have to pack it, send it back, and it's a hassle. Or I can go to Amazon. Probably in 15 minutes, I can narrow the search into particular types. And this amazing thing, right? Peer review, right? The peer review is telling me amazing intelligence about these products, the choices. And based on the peer review, I'm not looking at the ones with teens or 20s, I'm looking at the ones with hundreds, maybe thousands. And in an hour, I probably narrowed it down to 2 or 3. And then I make a choice. I click, I pay, I order, and 2 days later, I get it. I try it out. If it doesn't work, right? I don't even have to package it. I just take it back to UPS. Amazing, right? It's an amazing experience. Okay, or let's say you're flying into a new town, new city, and you got some work to do. And you have options. You can reserve a rental car, right? Stand in line, get the stuff, fill out all the forms, and then you got to figure out where you're going, right? And then when you return it, you got to make sure the tank is full, otherwise they charge you a bit, right? And then you got to do all the receipts. Or you can stand in line at the taxi, right? And then you take it, and then you have no idea which direction they're going, and that's another way to do it, right? Or take the vans with multiple people, or as you get off the plane, you tap your Uber app. You tell it where you're going, and then you get a driver. They contact you. They meet you outside. You get in. They know exactly where they're going, right? When you get there, you say thank you. You tap it. You pay, right? It's as simple as that. Amazing. Or you're flying. You fly United, American, Frontier. You get to the gate. They're late, right? And then you stand in those lines, you get into the plane, it takes forever to get everybody seated. Everybody's stressed. Stewardess stressed, right? And then, oh, you forgot, you got brought a carry-on, you got to pay extra. Or if your plans change, you got to buy a whole new ticket. Or you fly on Southwest, right? You do the ABC, you get in pretty quick, right? You brought a carry-on, they don't charge you. And then the steward, they are so funny. You know, they make the stressful situation a little easier. And then if your plans change, right, no problem, right? Amazing experience. Okay. So what's the next step? I suggest everything hinges on your problem identification, right? Can you identify it in one sentence, one line, clearly, deeply? Because if you identify like anybody else, then you'll solve it like anybody else, then you build a business like anybody else. Can you go deeper, right? Can you gain greater clarity of the problem, of the need? And then who has this need? Who is your best customer? Not just customer, best customer. How clear, how well do you know them? Is there common things you know about them so you can find more? And then what is your value proposition? What is the solution? How compelling, powerful is it? Because if you have identified a problem clearly and well, you know who have those, and you have a powerful solution, then you have margin, you have profit, and you can build a highly profitable business. And if you, as a small business, have a highly profitable business, you know, even in economic downturn, there is enough business, right? During the great recession we had in the 08 and so on, we had so many businesses who were so good, they never experienced the recession, right? And you can be one of those people because you are delivering a great value proposition, right? And you're delivering win that is memorable, and you have every opportunity to have margin, profit, sustainability, right? And a uncommon business trajectory. Okay, so that's my content for today. I went a little longer than I thought, but here's if you, we're like you, we want to get better. I would love for you to give us feedback. So if you could scan that code and give us, complete a survey or complete the survey you'll be receiving by email, we would really appreciate it. And then I talk to you about these other webinars that are coming up. And I want to encourage you to take advantage because, you know, when your head is buried, you are doing pretty much what everybody else is doing. You want to do, you should be doing something very few people are doing that is leading your business with clarity. And sometimes we need input from others to think differently, right? To solve differently, okay? So I want to encourage you to take these, right? And these are at no cost. Usually they're $50 each, but because of this COVID, we're offering for free. And invite your friends, invite your business neighbors, because we want as many businesses in North Idaho to be exceptional, to be extraordinary, right? So, okay. Thank you for attending. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to hang up and answer any questions you might have. If you need help with our digital marketing coaches, e-commerce coach, Samantha, who's hosting, she's our e-commerce coach, and we need to get better in all of those arenas, right? So you're welcome to reach out, okay? Anyways, thank you, and have a great week, and may you do well. Thank you. Thank you, Mike and Neil and Drew, Ann, and Skip, and Carrie. Thank you, Sean. Okay.
Bill, are you sending out the PowerPoint or the notes for this?
You should have. They should have received it. If you registered early enough, you should have received a copy of the PowerPoint. They would have blanks for you to fill out. If you didn't receive, just email us and we'll be happy to send it. Thank you, Marcus and Lauren, Aaron, KD. Okay, so you heard some stuff. Again, take time, make time to work on it, right? Because it's a different journey when you want to build a highly profitable business. Okay, thank you again. Sam and I will hang out for a while to answer any questions. Otherwise, we're done.